When I was young and I had just started playing the professional tour in Mexico, the tennis professional tour, one of the things that I noticed right away is that playing against professionals and playing for money, it was a lot more difficult, of course, than playing juniors. But I I could tell one of the things that I could tell is that um, it's very different when you see when you raise the bar to a level where you know that you see the other people, they're really serious about what they're doing and they're really fighting for it. And when you, I mean, obviously playing for money, it was a very different mentality what they had than what I was coming from, just getting out of the juniors. So one of the things that happened when I was playing in juniors is that you can be mentally tough for a while, but if things are not going very well in your match or your games, you kind of go up and down very easily, and you don't really pay much attention to trying to keep your mentality and trying to stay centered, like evenly throughout the match. That is something that only happens. I mean, that happens until you become more mature, and when things change, when you're playing for money, and if you know that if you don't make money, you're not gonna be able to keep playing the tour the next week, and you're just gonna. It's more like, okay, you're gonna go back home, and you're gonna end up working at with juniors tennis clinics or things like that. And when in my case, I wanted to be a professional tennis player, and I took me a couple of years to qualify to the professional tour. So I didn't want to go home and spend most of the year just teaching. I wanted to be on the tour playing. That was the my essence, that was my personality, and that's who I saw myself. That's what I saw myself doing, at least, for as long as I could do it. So mentally, jumping from the juniors to the professional tour, that's one of the biggest difference. Because from the juniors, nobody, I mean, the truth that nobody really taught me, okay, this is what's going to happen. You gotta stay centered. You gotta be more mentally tough, and the matches and every point is going to be more difficult. You're going to have to work a lot harder for those things. It just happens when, I mean, you get there and people tell you, okay, it's going to be more difficult. But the truth is that you're not prepared until you face it. And one of the main things that I found out right away, quickly after getting, I mean, I got pretty bad beat downs jumping into the professional tour. So I knew that I had to learn how to keep my mental sustainability, how to sustain my mental toughness. So three of the things that I had to focus on was that, first, I found out that your mind knows everything about you, and it's gonna work against you a lot of times. Your mind knows what turns you off. Your mind knows what you don't like. What he knows the memories. If he tells you what the kind of things that he say, okay, you're gonna remember this and remember that, and you don't like. He knows your triggers. He knows your fears. He knows what you like, what you don't like. He knows the places where you want to go, the places where you don't want to go. He knows the people that you like, the people that you don't like. He knows how you approach things. He knows how far is your faith and your determination and your endurance, I mean, he knows everything about you. And of course, if you don't control it, it's very easy for it to control you. And if it controls you, there is nothing you can do against it. It's as simple as that. So I had to learn to understand how to work with myself. And two of the things that I focus on is what was my self language, the way that I was talking to myself. And the second one was the endurance, to just okay, I just say, okay, I have to pay attention to the way I talk to myself, and I have to learn from the failures. I have to look at that as endurance, as becoming better, and it's becoming stronger. And so, and also, eventually one of the things, and nobody had told me about it, but I ended up finding out that it was a really, really good tool. And I actually found out by accident, is you gotta have a vision. It's visualization. So visualization and the self language became two of the most important things for me, because I knew I really needed to shift. I knew I really needed to sound different, speak to myself different, see myself different. So that was the first thing that I had to pay attention. Accepting that my mind knows if he wants to help me, he's in charge. And if he wants to destroy me, he's in charge as well. So I had to learn how to control it. The second one was that I knew that I was going to go through a period where adjusting myself to playing professionally, you're gonna fail a lot. There's gonna be a lot of setbacks, and there's gonna be a lot of failure, and there's gonna be a lot of pain. And if you don't learn how to stay centered in the middle of chaos, you're really gonna have a very difficult time shifting things, making things change, and making yourself change. It's like you're in the middle of the storm, you're in the eye of the storm, and everything for a moment is pretty quiet, but you can see that it's coming. I could see that it was coming. Why? Because I had just started to play the professional tour, so I knew I knew there were gonna be like several big number of beatdowns, but I knew that I was necessary. I needed that. So I had to learn to say, okay, you know what? You got to look at it from the perspective that you're learning, that you let it go, and then you just move on. And that's one thing that really helped me kind of accelerate a little bit the process of adjusting to a higher level of playing the game. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about is that I was wishing that I could be good enough to face what I was fighting against. I was wishing that I was good enough to play professional. I was wishing that I was good, that I was lucky, so I would go to a tournament and I didn't have to play at least the first couple of rounds with people that were not that good. So I was living pretty much to luck. The things, things that were so important, things that you cannot wish for something like that because it's just not going to happen. And I was hoping, I was being hopeful instead of thinking, you know what, you gotta grow, you gotta become stronger, you gotta adapt. And when you adapt, you're gonna fail a lot of times. But that's exactly how you adapt. You fail, you adapt. You try, you failed, you adapt. If you don't do that, it's just not gonna change. So I learned to pay attention to those three things. I learned to pay attention to the fact that first, my mind has the upper hand because he knows if he wants to help me, he knows perfectly how to do it. If he doesn't want to help me, he knows perfectly how to do it as well. The second one is I had to learn to stay centered regardless of the situation. The thinking like you're going to be surrounded by chaos and it's just going to be difficult, but you got to learn to stay centered and you got to learn to keep your focus on your target. And the last one was not hoping. Don't look at yourself. Don't have the self-image like a person that you cannot develop yourself to the point where you can face the consequences with authority and still keep the desire that and the faith that things are gonna be they're gonna be good. Don't be hopeful. Just believe in yourself, trust, and adapt to the situation. All right. Okay, guys, it's good to see you again, and I'll see you next time.